That was the deal. I kept my grades up. He wanted to see my grades. I went on and got my bachelor's. I went on and got my master's. And I owe a lot of that to that man. To that man. So that's why in the beginning of these sessions, I said, speak to your parents. Speak to your friends. Regardless of what you're, hey man, you sound corny. Like I tell my kids, corny is cool. Corny is cool. So, having said all of that, I want you to get value out of these sessions. We have about 12 people, 17 people, which is great. I think we had more last week. I think we had 19. But like I said, the cream rises to the top. You are the cream. You're rising to the top. You're finding a way to win. And I, for one, appreciate it. I, for one, appreciate it. So during these financial sessions, we're talking about money. We're talking about finding jobs, and we're going to get into that in a bit. But one of the things that I wanted to tell you, and I don't want you to talk to your parents about this because they may not know. Do you know that the United States is just like mom and dad? They have money coming in through our taxes, and they have money going out through expenses, roads, bridges, Social Security, welfare, salaries. Those are the expenses. So they have to make hard decisions just like mom and dad. And last week, I had told you when I was 12 or 13 years old, I wanted a pair of sneakers that were pro kids. And my father said, nope, can't afford it. You could have the kids. The pro kids were suede. My dad said, nope, you could have the kids. And again, I played basketball. And at the time, that was the coolest sneaker out there. But I had to go out there on the basketball court with my friends, with my kids. Okay? The reason why I bring up the parallel between mom and dad and the government, because you guys are the future. You're the future. You need to know what's going on. Okay? The government owed, we're talking about finance now, the government owed or owes $2 trillion. That's with a capital T. But all of us are removed from it because we say we're not affected. You are affected. That translates to about $70,000 per person in the United States. You owe $70,000. A baby owes $70,000. When somebody dies, they're absolved of $70,000. Now they're talking about a stimulus check. We all want the stimulus check. That's another $2 trillion. Okay? So wait a second. Let me think about that. If we owe $2 trillion and we're about to assume another $2 trillion, that means my personal debt is going to be $140,000. You got to think about that, people, because then you got to say to yourself, how are we going to pay that indebtedness? Well, the country pays that indebtedness through trade with other countries, just like a regular store. But they also generate revenue through our taxes. Are taxes going to go up or are they going to go down? If your mom and pop call the United States, are they going to go up or are they going to go down? You guys tell me. That's a big yawn, Giselle. Big yawn. What do you guys think? The tax is going to go up or go down? You guys are typing, you don't want to talk. So that means I got to read. I'm not as computer savvy as Rhonda. I'm not as computer savvy as all of you. They're going to go up. Okay, they're probably going to go up. And again, remember, this is a finance session. This is a finance session. On a personal basis, we paid about 28 to 29% of our income in taxes. I don't mean to bore you, Avery. I don't mean to bore anybody. This is the facts. Our taxes went down to about 24 to 26%. Again, I'm not following the tax code. I'm just telling you the numbers. So we got a savings of about 3%. And just so you understand, in Canada, the personal taxes are about 50% of what they make. So we are a little bit better off.
Fantastic.
One second, Rhonda. A corporation was 38%. Now a corporation is about 21%. Who got the biggest savings? Did the people get the biggest savings, or did the corporations get the biggest savings? The corporations got the biggest savings. So I want you to understand that we're fueled by money, and nobody is absolved of how money works and how to better themselves. And in these sessions, I want you to pay attention to your money so you can have a very good retirement. Can anybody tell me what was my goal for all of you the first day of our session? What was my goal for you guys? You guys remember? I said that I wanted you guys each to have $5 million in the bank. Because at $5 million in the bank, you can now have your money working for you. You can have $100 working for you. So I should make that clear. And that's what we need to start with. But if 5 million's at 5%, you got $250,000 a year working for you. Okay. Rhonda, you wanted to say something? Rhonda?
Yes, I do. So thank you for that, Daryl. That was very enlightening. Now we have Miss Nancy Hamilton on the line, and she's going to have a small discussion with you. Nancy?
Good morning, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there in person today, and sorry there was a little hiccup in not getting to you right on time. But I'm actually on my way to Las Vegas right now, traveling to Las Vegas from Reno. But I wanted to talk to you today about, kind of taking off and continuing what Daryl just said, and how you get to that point and saving is really through a budget or a spending plan. So I think we said early on that a spending plan a budget is probably one of the most critical things that anyone will need to manage their money. It doesn't make any difference what your income level is. You can be, make tons of money, make okay amounts of money, make not much, but a budget is going to help you get to where you want to be. It's going to get you to a place where your money is working for you, as opposed to you working for your money, your money controlling you. So hopefully you all had a chance to review the material on the hands-on banking, the chapter that was assigned to you this week. But you know, we talked about the first session goals and setting goals for you, setting goals, especially, and most of our goals have a financial aspect to them. So you're going to be saving for something. And so once you determine what your goals are, then you're saving to buy a computer, you're saving to go to school, you're saving to buy a car. Well, you're going to be through that process of identifying your goal, and a goal, you really want your goal to be important to you. Because if it's not important to you, and I've said this, but I think it's important to repeat it. If a goal is not important to you, there's a greater chance that you're not going to be completing that goal. So identify your goals, and I think, you have already, we heard some of those already in our previous session. And with that goal, you will be identifying how much you're going to have to save. So if you're saving for something that's going to be over a 2 or 3 year period, you're going to identify what you're going to save over the 2 or 3 year period. And you're going to break that down into how much you have to save each month to reach your goal at the end of that 2 or 3 year period. And that is going to be, you're going to look at that savings as just as you would pay any other bill. You're going to be paying yourself and putting that money away each month, or however often you determine that you're going to be putting that money away. But a budget is a plan for spending your money. And it includes, and I look at savings as another expense. So, and I think that's a way that that's the way that I look at it, as another bill that I'm going to have to pay each month is my savings and what I'm to reach my goal. So once you identified your goal, and it's just a couple, and you know how much you're going to have to save, and you're breaking that down into a monthly amount, then you want to track your spending for at least a month or two, at least 2 weeks or a month. I'll make it easy on you. And that's going to identify where you spend your money. So I can't see you, but if so, you could just chime in, and I'm going to ask you this question. How many of you know where every single penny that you spend goes? How many?
Darren
Anybody?
said he knows. Darren said he knows.
Good for you. Anybody else?
Very good, Darren.
Yeah. What about you, Daryl? Do you know where every bit of your money goes?
Yeah, that's easy for me and my wife.
Yeah. So she's keeping track of it. So it's a lot of times we don't know where all of our money goes. And that leads us to sometimes not, running out of money before our next paycheck, or not being able to put money into our savings. So that then kind of makes us not be on track with our goals. So one of the other things that a budget will do, and you've heard this term, I think everybody's heard the term, but a budget is a plan for spending your money. And and there are 3 parts to a budget. There's income, expenses, and what's left over. So who can tell me? Pardon?
I'm asking everybody, are they writing this down? This is very good information that Miss Nancy's giving you. You should be writing this down.
Yeah, and I can send some information over to Rhonda, additional information where you can read about this. But income, who can tell me what income is? Anybody? What is income? It is money coming in. Money coming in. So it's at the amount. And so what are some types of income that we might have? I think you're middle and high school students. So what are some what's income that you would have?
Somebody says through a job, Nancy.
That's correct, through a job. What else?
Through a business.
Through a business.
Through Alliance.
What was that?
Through allowance.
Through allowance, yeah.
Absolutely, through an allowance. Yep.
Somebody said
Income.
Somebody said investment income. Very good.
Yeah. What you earn on the money you're saving, you're investing. That's income, the interest that you're earning on that. Absolutely. What about, if every time your birthday comes along, or holidays, or graduations, or, things like that, do you get regularly something from, your family members? They may send you $5, $10, whatever. That is income. If you receive it on a regular, if every once a year you're going to get, $25 for your birthday, or so that's income. So we count that. So income is money coming in, and the money that's coming in on a regular basis. You're going to get it. It could be your paycheck for those of you who are working. And it's actually, if you're working, the income in a budget is the money you take home. It's your paycheck, the amount in your paycheck. So there's a difference between what you earn and what you take home. Does anybody understand the difference? Does anybody know that difference?
Anybody? Let me look in the chat. Excuse me. Well, let me give it a shot, Nancy, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The money that you earn is the amount agreed upon between the employer and the employee. Let's keep it simple. Let's say you make $10 an hour. If you work 40 hours, you make $400. 40 hours is the average you work a week. You got to, before you get your paycheck, the ending paycheck, the employer will take out something called taxes. And let's just say, make life easy, that's 20%. So 20% of 400 is $80. So that's $80 taken out of your paycheck. Say you tell your employer, well, I want to put $10 in a savings program. So that's $80 plus $10. So therefore, your net pay, this is what Nancy's asking, your net pay or your take-home pay will be $310. How'd I do, Nancy?
That is absolutely perfect. And Daryl, you should be teaching this class. It's great. No, that is perfect. So your what you earn is called your gross salary. And your gross salary and what you take home will most likely 99.9% of the time will never be the same, because an employer has to take out, and we started this discussion last week when the session had to end, but it's all about the employer has to take out federal income taxes, and they have to take out Social Security. And we're lucky, we live in a state where there are no state taxes. One of the few states across the country where there are no state taxes. So we don't have those taken out. But if you lived in California, they have state taxes that are taken out. That's your check is it. So So those are the items that are taken out of your check. Sometimes when you start working on your career job, your employer may assist you with insurance, and they'll take that out of your check, the amount of it for medical insurance and that. And yes, Daryl made a really good point. It's really it's easier for us to save if we can tell our employer, yes, when I get my paycheck, I want you to put X percent of my paycheck or X number of dollars of my paycheck. I want you to deposit that directly to my savings account. That way we don't miss it at all. So, so that is some, yes. Yeah.
Nancy made a good point right there. She said, what we don't receive, we will not miss. And I want you to understand that phrase, because we only spend what we have. That's a very important phrase she said. Thanks, Nancy.
Yeah, good. So if income is money coming in, what do you think expenses are?
Money coming out.
Absolutely. Money coming out. Those are our expenses. That's what we spend. So, so it's income minus expenses equals what's left over. And the what's left over can be three things. It can be a negative, it can be a zero, and it can be a positive. So of those three, what do you want the what's left over to be in your budget? Do you want it to be a negative, a zero, or a positive number? What do you think? So if it's a negative number, what does that mean?
You overspent.
You're spending more than you're making. So if you're spending more than you're making, how are you paying for those things? You're probably paying for those things by using credit. If you're using credit, which you're going to be talking about, and I think in the next session, if you're using credit, then it's going to be it's more expensive for you because you have interest on that when you borrow money. So you do not want to. You want to not be spending more than you're making. In fact, that is a purpose of a budget. The purpose of the budget is to spend less than you're making. Spend less than you're making. And I think in the first or second session, well, I think we talked about this, is you always want to try and spend less than you're making. Now, if it's a zero, what does that mean? You're spending as much as you make. So even if you're saving money and you put in your expenses, saving for goals, do you want that what's left over to be a zero? Anyone? Daryl, what do you think?
I always want to be positive.
You always want to be positive. So why wouldn't you want it to be zero?
Because I don't have anything left over.
Because you don't have anything left over. And what always happens in life?
Stuff.
And that's a very kind way of saying it. Stuff happens in life all the time.
I mean, it could be a minor thing. It could be a minor thing, like I have a blowout on the highway and you got to call somebody to fix the flat. And that might cost you $150. And
that's correct.
And again,
yep. You
guys need to listen to what Miss Nancy and I are telling you and talk to your parents. Talk to your parents. One of the statistics in America is, can you put your hands on $1,000 if there's an emergency? And the ratio is only 20% of the people in the United States, adults, so not counting kids, could put hands on $1,000 if there's an emergency. That's pretty low. That's pretty low. So Nancy is absolutely right for bringing this up right now.
Yep. So let's take Daryl's example of a car, and your car needs repairs. You don't have, and you didn't realize it was a tire blew out or whatever. Or, you know, something happened with your engine or your alternator or whatever. But you need that car to get to work. So what happens if you don't have the money to pay for that repair? Can you get to work? Might not be able to. If you can't get to work, then what's going to happen? Your employer will only put up for so long with you not coming to work. And then you may lose your job. Now that's a kind of, what we wanted to do with that little extra, you know, kind of this little scenario is show you the rolling effects of something that can happen, something very minor, or, you know, not, you know, I wouldn't say blowing a tire is minor, but, you know, something that could trigger other things to happen that would, you know, negatively affect you. And your ability to, you know, to earn your living. What Daryl just said, it happened to me once, not too long ago. I accidentally, and this is, I accidentally I was pulling out of a parking spot, and I accidentally hit the curb, and it blew my tire.
Mm-hmm.
And I had just put on new tires, but I had a car that was it was a Subaru, and Subaru's an all-wheel drive. And on this Subaru, when you just can't replace one tire. I had to replace all 4 tires.
Wow.
Now, yes, I should have been more careful about pulling out when I pulled out, and I should have checked closer, but you know, I didn't that day. But so if I hadn't had money in my emergency savings account to pay for that, I would have had to take it out of something else that then would have made, you know, other stuff I was saving for had to, you know, take longer to reach my goal. But that's a true story. And it's not, I think everybody encounters this. And some of these are, you know, if you might get sick and have to go to the emergency room, you know, things like that. So there's 2 things every financial expert will say, and Daryl will say there's more than 2, but 2 things I think that are really important for you today, and throughout this whole course. Have a budget, use the budget, look at it, follow it, and then the other thing would be, if you can't figure out a goal to save for an emergency fund. Have an emergency fund. So because as we both said, stuff happens all the time. So you want to make sure of that. So so that's and another reason why you want some money left over, especially at your age, is there's always spur of the moment, you know, things. Your friend calls you up and says, hey, let's go out, let's go to this show, or, you know, let's go get something to eat, or let's go to, you know, this arcade or whatever. And you may not have plugged that into your budget for that month. You may have already spent what you plugged into your budget for that month. So if you have some left over, then you can do these things with your friends when the opportunities come up. So any questions on that before I talk a little bit more about expenses? No questions? Daryl, do you have any questions? Do you have anything to add?
Nope, you're doing great.
Okay. So with our expenses, there's 3 types of expenses: fixed, flexible, and discretionary. A fixed expense is one that every month it's the same amount. You know what it's going to be, and it's a need. So can someone give me an example of a fixed expense? It's a need, and you know every month it's going to be the same. What
Okay,
about-
I have one for you. Your cell
Okay.
phone bill.
Your cell phone bill, that's correct, because you're on a plan. Now I'm going to say something else about that cell phone bill. If you are going over your plan, then it's time to revisit your plan with your cell phone provider, because every time when you go over your plan, over your minutes, it gets really expensive, really, really expensive. So, but yes, your cell phone.
Avery
one other?
said a car payment, and Tyler
Correct.
said TV subscriptions or streaming subscriptions.
Absolutely. Now, those are fixed. Those are fixed expenses. But the other part of the definition is need. So, is a streaming service a need? Think about that for a second. What do you think? Daryl, what do you think?
Do I need streaming?
Yeah.
No. But one of the things I don't hear anybody saying, I need to pay my rent. I need to pay my mortgage. I need to have a roof over my head.
Yeah. So let's talk about the definition of a need. What is a need? Anyone? A need is something you must have to survive. Okay. A need is something that it could be something that you need to get to your job. So, if you have a car to get to your job, you're going to need to put gas in that car. Some jobs where they are depending, you may need, because of the transportation situation in your town, you may need to have a car. Okay. So those are needs, something you must have to survive, something to help you to be able to do what you need to do in order to, to get a paycheck. And then there's wants. What's a want? Anything that, a want is anything that will make our life a little bit better. Now, are our needs and our wants the same? Anybody? Rhonda, what do you think?
Well, let's see, that's a good question. Our needs are things that we want, but sometimes we don't necessarily need them at that time. So I might say, hey, I want to go buy a new 10-speed bike. And then, because I want it right now, because I want to ride down the street with my friends. But then on the other hand, do you need a 10-speed bike? Is there one you can borrow? Does your brother have a 10-speed bike you can borrow? Therefore, you can save some money. So if he's not using it, you can borrow it. So I say to myself, now, do I need to go to Target and get a new 10-speed bike, or do I want to? And can I just use my brother's bike if he's not using it? So you have to weigh those options.
Yeah, and that's very good. That's a very good point. That's a very good point. So our needs and our wants are not always the same, because our needs, well, housing, those are housing, water, food. They're, that we pretty much have all of those same needs. But other needs depends on our situation, depends on our values, depends on our goals. We need food, but do we need to go to to get pizza with our friends on Friday? So that's kind of the difference. And we have, it doesn't make any difference in terms of who we're teaching with financial education, adults and youth. We always have the discussion of needs and wants. So it's many times people think, adults know what needs and wants are. No, they may know the definition, but have they really sat down and thought about what is a need for me and what is a want for me? And a lot of times we talk ourselves into making our wants become our needs. Okay? So really think about that. Start thinking about that. What are, truly, what are your needs and what are your wants? And that's very important in budgeting. And you'll see that that'll be really come out and be clear when you track your expenses. So Daryl, do you have anything in addition to say around needs and wants?
I love doing this, everybody. We're part of the animal kingdom, and as animals, all we really need is food and shelter. That's all we really need. But because we are the human race, we bring up other things like cars and so forth and so on. I remember my father telling me a car is not necessarily a right. A car is a privilege. So because of our society, we tend to confuse want and needs. And I want you guys to pay attention to that, because like Rhonda said, do I really need it? You got to ask yourself, because true need is food and shelter. That's all I had to say on that.
Good, thank you. So the other two types of expenses are flexible, and those are expenses that are needs, but the amounts change from time to time, month to month, depending on where you buy it, how much you use, all of that. So a good example of a flexible expense is groceries, food. So, we need food, but how much are we going to spend on the food will depend on, do we use coupons? What store do we go? Are we looking for the sales? Things like that. And that's important. I think it's important to kind of comparison shop for those kinds of variable expenses. The other thing is, the last is discretionary. So discretionary are all those expenses that are your wants. So streaming services, want, in my mind, it's a want. Now, you may beg to differ with me, but if you don't call it a want and you call it a need, really think about why you're calling it a need. And then is it truly a need in the end? So with all our finances and everything, we have, you have to have these internal conversations with yourself when you're spending money. And there's a couple of things you always want to ask yourself when you're spending money, especially if you're getting close to not having much left in your checking account and you're thinking about spending something. Do I need this? Do I really need this? Will I be using this in 2 months from now? How many hours do I have to work to pay for this? And that's the good one for me, because if I have to work 40 hours, which is a whole week to pay for something, I better be using it in 2 months. Or else, that's a lot of money. 40 hours. Well, no, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. And our time is precious.
Excuse me, Nancy.
So,
Excuse me,
yeah.
Nancy. Can I just add to that a little bit?
yeah.
One of the things that I do is I provide financial advice. And I had a recent client of mine say to me, "Oh my God, Mr. Rayford, you're going to tell me what to spend and what not to spend." And I told him, I said, "I don't do that. I don't do that. All I want to do is talk." And what we'll find when we talk to ourselves, as Nancy just said, because when she said it, reminded me of this situation. When we talk to ourselves, we will tell us what's right and wrong. He was paying a gym membership of $250 a month. I pay a gym membership of $10 a month. He was paying for a cell phone of $175 a month. I pay a cell phone for 4 cell phones, $110 a month. You can talk yourself right into good decision. And that's what I wanted to say when Nancy said
That is absolutely perfect. Yes. And that is so, and in fact, this brings us, I'm going to have to sign off in a few minutes, but Rhonda, continue the conversation. And I want you to talk about what we call spending leaks. But before I talk to you about spending leaks, your budget always needs to be in writing. You don't want it up in your head, because once you put down something in writing, it holds you more accountable to that. And there are no lack of good budgeting applications, apps online, and they're free. They're free. So even at your stage in life, you don't have to pay for a budgeting application. You can I Google best budgeting apps, and I'm always looking for, I change my budgeting way I budget a lot of times, but I'm always looking for the perfect one. And that'll depend on what's going on in my life. But just Google that. And I would do best budgeting apps for high school students, or middle or high school students. And then you'll get some. There's a program out there called Practical Money Skills, and I think they have some online apps that you can use, and that's a financial education program, just like Wells Fargo has one that you've been studying. This is a financial education program by Visa, that Visa has put out for high school students. So spending leaks are something we all must be careful of. Again, regardless of our income levels. And spending leaks are we spend our money, but we don't know what we're spending it on. So Daryl gave you 2 very perfectly good examples of a spending leak. It's the gym membership, the $285 versus the $10. I have a friend who pays $10 a month for a gym membership. She hasn't been to the gym in 2 years. And I said, "Why are you still doing that? $10. Oh, it's only $10, it's only $10 a month. Add that up. It's $120 a year. Times that by 5 years. See what it is. That's not an insignificant amount of money." So, and then the other thing was, well, I plan on going back to the gym. I can go back. So, I'm going to go, so I just want it to be there when I'm ready. Well, my advice to her was, you need to really think about that, but those are spending leaks. So I'm going to ask you through the rest of your time with Daryl and Rhonda is two things. One, talk about some spending leaks. Think about the way you spend money, or maybe some spending leaks you see in your family, in your household, what those are, and what you can do to kind of turn that around if you think you need to turn it around. And the other thing is talk about other ways also you can save money. And I think there's two for, there's one that I think is having a no spending day. And I'll get you started on that, where you absolutely, no spending. I'm not going to spend money on anything. Then when the next day comes, don't spend what you would have spent the day before. Plus, if you're not going to spend money in a day, then don't spend it. The money you are going to spend, put it into savings, put it away, or just choose not to spend it. And then you'll have more money left over at the end of the month. And then the other terminology is pay yourself first. By paying yourself first, you're doing that when you put your money into your savings. Whenever you get any money, pay yourself first means automatically put money away. Put money away before you spend it on anything else. And that amount will depend on you and your situation. So with that, I do need to sign off. Again, I apologize to everyone that I wasn't able to be on the Zoom call today. But I hope this session has been beneficial to you today.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Rhonda and Daryl.
I'll see you next week, Nancy.
Okay. Bye now.
Okay. All right, students. Let's have a small discussion this morning. Did everybody do their homework for this week? I want you to wave your hand so I can see you. Did you do your homework? Wave. Yes, no, maybe. Okay. The value of money. That's what we've been talking.
Are you all right, Rhonda?
Can you see my screen?
I can see you. Oh, yeah, I can see your screen. Is this you showing the video?
Yes.
Okay.
Did everybody see the video? Please turn on your microphones and let me know. Everybody turn on your mics. Did you see the video?
Yes.
Yes.
Everybody saw the video?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes. So put it in speaker mode so you'll see what I'm seeing. So I have questions for you. Are you a smart spender? Test your shopping smarts by taking this quiz. Drag each of these terms to the correct definition to the right. What is premium? Everybody, I need you to turn on your microphones and speak to me. I'm not working the chat right now. What is premium?
It's kind of small, Rhonda.
I can't see it.
You can't see this?
No,
No, it's too
pretty
small.
It's too small. Hold on a second.
Oh,
Can
no.
you see it better now?
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Okay. You're welcome. So you can see these terms. Now you can see these real good, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what is a premium?
The amount you pay for insurance.
The amount you pay for insurance?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see if that's correct. That is correct. The premium is the amount you pay for insurance. So if you have a home or a car, you have insurance on your home and your car. And the payments you make every month are called premiums. And they're different amounts based on how much your house costs and how much your car costs. So that is correct. Does anybody here drive?
Not yet.
Not yet? We have a couple people that say they drive. Okay, great. Does anybody pay their own insurance premium? Okay, Daryl does. Okay, fantastic. All right, great. So now my next question is, what is a warranty? What is a warranty?
A performance.
Performance guarantee given by a buyer for goods or services? Is that what you guys think it is? Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's see if that's it. Okay, that might be it. We'll check. A warranty, performance guarantee given to a buyer for goods and services. That sounds about right. Okay, so what is an auto lease? What's an auto lease?
Contract to use a car for a specific period of, like, I can't see, it's too blurry, but I think
Specific
that's the,
period of time.
Okay, got it. Okay, and then last but not least, spending plan. I guess we'll go with strategy for using your income to meet your goals. Let's put that there. Okay, now let's see if we got them all right. We got them correct. All right, fantastic. Is there a question?
exciting.
Is there a question? No? Okay, great. Let's go to plan. Let's go to have a plan. So okay, I'm going to play the video for you all. Give me 1 second. Or actually, it's not a video, it's a question. Danica wants to pay for things in the right order so that her monthly income covers her needs. Read Danica's thoughts and then select the best choice for her. The first thing I'll do is set aside the money I need for everyday expenses like groceries and bus fare. Second choice is, I know I have some big expenses coming, so I better set the money aside first. And the third is, before I do anything else, I'm going to pay my bills. What should she do?
First.
First,
Mhm.
she should set aside money for everyday expenses, groceries, and bus fare?
Yes.
That's our answer? Okay, let's hit it and see what they say. That is wrong. The correct answer, before I do anything else, I'm going to pay my bills. What that means is that if you have monthly bills, like your cell phone bill or your streaming bill, you pay those bills first because you know they are the same amount every month. Then after you pay those bills, then you set aside money for buses, groceries, and expenses, and bus fare and things of that nature. Because if you make $50 a month and you're spending 20 on it on your streaming and your cell phone, then that leaves $30 left, and you have to take that $30 to buy groceries and bus fare. So you might be able to only spend like $10 or $15 on groceries, then you need the balance for bus fare and other expenses. So you have to look at your full budget, and again, whatever you've signed a contract for and you're responsible for, you have to pay first, and then everything else is secondary. Do you guys understand that? Hello?
Yeah, we understand.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Spending step by step. I just said this, which is so interesting. To make your monthly income last, pay for the things in this order. Pay your monthly bills first, which we discussed, and we want to pay them on time, because if you don't pay them on time, you will get a late fee or they will cut your phone or streaming service off. Second, living expenses, things you need for groceries and bus fare. That's second. Third, your emergency fund. Even if you make $50 a month, always set aside $5 for emergency. And that emergency savings account, save $5 every month. That way you have a cushion. The next thing is, if you have some upcoming expenses, say you say, okay, I'm going to buy a car in December. Well, I'm going to save $100 a month to put towards that car. So then you have that in a particular savings account. And then you have to think about, what are your future goals? Are you preparing for college? How are you going to pay for college? Are you going to get grants? Are you going to take out loans? Or are you going to pay some in cash? Oh, great, I should save some money for college. So then you have another little savings account for that. And as you make more money every month, you should increase your savings. So if you make $50 a month, you save $5. If you make $100 a month, you save $10, and so on and so forth. Do any of you all receive money for chores that you do? Does anybody do chores around the house and their parents give them money for it?
Yeah.
What do you do with that money?
Usually save it or just spend it on once because I don't really have any needs now, but sooner or later I will. So I just spend it on other stuff.
So you save your money for the good stuff. Anybody else? Anyone else? Anyone else? They get money for doing chores? No? Yes? Are you working for free? Are your parents saying, hey, you have chores, you got to take out the trash, you got to wash the car, and that's part of the money that you're putting back into the family because
Yes.
you live for free, because you pay no rent and no car note or anything else. Is that correct?
Yes.
So you work for free. All right, fantastic. What is your chore?
Wash, basically just take out the trash, clean and clean the bathrooms, clean my room, the dog, and also do laundry.
Fantastic. Great.
Good
Let's look
job.
at another.
Everything.
Huh?
Everything.
Everything? You do everything at your house?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Let's watch another video. Here we go.
We can't hear Rhonda.
Okay, did you all hear that?
We didn't hear it, no, but we read it.
Okay. All right, very good. So we talked about this earlier. We talked about the spending plan, income versus take-home pay, and knowing what you spend. And there are three types of expenses, which Nancy mentioned earlier. Fixed expenses, which are regular amounts that generally don't change much, like we talked about earlier. Flexible expenses are necessities, things you need on a regular basis. And discretionary expenses are the dollars you choose to spend on something that's fun. Okay, fantastic. We talked about not having enough income and what you need to do to overcome that. And we talked about the trade-offs. And we talked about being realistic and flexible. And we talked about how you can determine how much money you want to save based on how much money you have coming in. Okay, be a savvy shopper. Raphael's cell phone bill is out of control. Raphael is ready to sign up with a new cell phone provider. He wants to reduce his cell phone expenses and avoid the surprise of another huge bill. Question, Raphael is trying to decide what to do. Which do you think is the correct answer? A, I'm going to look at how many minutes and messages I have been using, compare companies and plans online, and read the contract before I sign. B, I'm going to sign up for the best new customer deal I can find. Those are always the cheapest. Or C, it's just confusing to compare companies and plans. I'm going to ask one experienced salesperson if I trust them. I don't need to read the contract. What would your answer be?
The first one.
The first one?
I was gonna say A.
Everybody agreed it's the first one? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, let's see. You are correct. Raphael's best choice is to compare and contrast all the companies that provide cell phone service and find out which service is the best for him. Fantastic. Fantastic. And that's what I do for all types of shopping. Before I buy anything, I look through the weekend circular to see if any stores have any of those items on sale. For example, a TV or a new iPod or anything of that nature. I try to find out who's selling it and I try to get it for the best price. Because as you know, every year these companies make new products, new TVs, new cell phones, new iPads, all that stuff. So then typically the ones from the year before are on sale. So if the ones from the year before has all of the bells and whistles that you would like, then you can get one from a year before at a discounted rate versus paying full price for a brand new one. But that is absolutely, up to you. Okay. Next on our list, well, you're not really making any major purchases, but if you are, what would those major purchases be? Anyone? Is anyone making a major purchase anytime soon? Anyone buying a car or a motorcycle or a moped? Anything like that? Anybody saving for college? You have to turn on your microphone and speak so I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm only saving up for college.
You're saving up for college? That's a major purchase. Fantastic. Thank you very much, Sudan. So you have to consider your needs. Is the item something you want or truly need? Ask yourself what needs you're trying to fulfill by making this purchase. Yes, if you decide to go to college, that is something that you need. Absolutely. Check your budget. Decide on how much you can spend on this purchase and still cover other expenses at the same time. So in other words, different colleges cost different amounts of money. So when you're doing your research to find out what college you want to go to, you can also check out how much is a tuition and find out if it meets your budget. Next thing is do your research. Even if you're trying to go to college, do your research on the college you want to go to. If you decided you know what you want to be when you grow up, make sure they have the curriculum for what you want to be when you grow up. You might want to be a scientist. You might want to be a political analyzer. You might want to be a teacher. You might want to be a social worker. Make sure those schools have accredited programs because that's the direction you want to go in. And like I said earlier, shop and compare along with shop for value. Now, we're almost at the end of our class today. You learned a lot from Miss Nancy and Mr. Darrell. And before we end, we need to take the end of the day assessment. So I'm going to put the end of the day assessment in the chat. And I need everybody to stop and take it right now before we end class. Darrell, would you like to give them a couple of words while I'm putting this in the chat?
No, you guys were great today. It was a little bit more interactive than in the past, so I appreciate you guys participating. Please take this exam per Ms. Nolan, and love to see you guys return next week.
Give me 1 second and I will have it for you.
And if you guys have any questions from week to week, please send them to Ms. Nolan and she can send them to me and we could talk about it.
Does anybody have any questions today? Any questions?
Can you mostly explain like how bills usually work when it comes like almost like paying them?
Darrell?
Can you repeat the question? Can you repeat the question, please, Sudan?
Yeah, sure. How do bills actually work when it comes to like when it comes to almost like paying them, like where do I most go to most like pay them, like do I have to like pay them like in like a certain way, or like what, like how does it actually work?
Well, when you develop bills, your electric bill, your water bill, your car payment, the provider will send you what we call a bill or invoice, and on that invoice will tell you how to pay. A portion of what you owe, like a car loan, with respect to electric bill or water bill, they will charge you for what you have utilized. You have to pay the full amount. However, many providers are a little flexible if you have financial problems. And we'll get into that another day, but it'll say it on the invoice how you should pay, Sudan.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. One of the other things I wanted to, Sudan reminded me, I want you guys to look up and tell me how much you will save in 1 year if you save a nickel a day and add a nickel to it. Tell me next session how much you will save in 1 year. That's part of your assignment.
Everybody got that?
Save a
Fantastic. So,
nickel a day, and you add a nickel every day. So the first day is a nickel. The next day is a nickel plus a nickel, which is a dime. The next day is a nickel plus a nickel plus a nickel is 15 cents. How much will you have saved in 1 year? And the reason why I'm asking you to do this exercise is because a lot of people say, I can't save.
fantastic. So everybody, the assessment for today is over in the chat. Please double click it and take the assessment and let me know when you have completed it. Send me a note in the chat that you have completed the assessment for today. Okay, Caesar, thank you very much. We will see you next week. Okay, Braylon, thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Okay, Jazelle, thank you very much. We'll see you next week. Okay, Janiyah, thank you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Ryan, thank you. We'll see you next week. Tyler, fantastic. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Jeremiah, fantastic. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Majesty, fantastic. See you next week. Don't forget to come a little early next week. You were a little late today, okay? All right. All right, Elijah Smith, thank you very much, sir. We will see you next week.
Miss Rhonda?
Yes.
I'm only in 7th grade.
I know. Let's see now. Can you, are you having trouble with the questions?
Oh, no.
That's
But just
okay.
one of them, one of the questions, they just don't have my grade on it.
Oh, don't have your grade. So do they have 9th grade on there?
Yes.
Just circle 9th grade.
Okay.
But I know you're only in 7th.
Okay. Thank you.
I thought you said you bought a car, Avery. Joking.
Yeah, I know how to drive.
Hey, girl, wow.
Okay, thank you, Sudan. Have a fantastic Saturday. We'll see you next week.
Gabby and Taylor are done.
They are fantastic, Gabby and Taylor. We will see you next week. Have a good one.
Mr. Rayford?
Yes.
This is Avery's mom. So if I did my calculations correct, about $1,800 a year
For what?
for the nickel a day.
How are you going to be advanced from the rest of the class? I have that's the assignment for next week.
Oh, sorry. I just was interested because I'm about to go into my bank account right now and set up an auto transfer.
You are breaking what I asked. See, there's always an A student that puts it. No, it's not. I looked it up.
Oh, you okay?
I didn't do the calculation. I just looked it up. So now you're gonna make me do the calculation.
But that's a nice amount of money to save.
It is a nice amount of money. It's $3,339 per what I looked up.
Wow.
Because you got to remember, you're almost doubling every couple of days.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that part. Okay.
That's all right. See, you made me give the answer. So now if anybody listens, they get the answer for next week.
Well, I got it wrong, so I think we're safe.
But as a parent, I gave you the answer. I hope you like the exercise because again, you and I and Miss Nolan, we have friends and family. I can't save you, I can't save. But here's a simple exercise that I'm trying to tell the kids. Just save a nickel a day and just add a nickel. And you'd be surprised how much it adds up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's smart. As someone who, and I'm not on camera right now because it's Saturday morning. But it's amazing, you know, she's just 13 and I think this is really good for her to get this information and to start early. I was really good at managing my money when I was younger, but when I got to college and they give you credit cards and, you know, it's game on. Everything kind of got out of control. And I don't think my money habits are as good as they were when I was younger. And I'm trying to get back to that. So I sat here with her during this course because solidarity for my girl who had to get up early this morning.
There you go. But I hope you like the format because we're not just trying to lecture. We're trying to also provide the kids that we were kids once upon a time too. And let me share with you our experiences. And I hope the kids are getting that part of it too. Because I remember when I was a student, I used to say to myself, when a teacher used to get up there and lecture, I used to scratch my head out of boredom and say, were you ever young? Were you ever young? So as a teacher, instructor, professor now, I'm trying to convey that to my audience.
Yes. May I make a suggestion on the course?
Sure.
Avery we were discussing something that she had done in a class that she thought was really interesting and fun. And basically the students go into a breakout group and they get a budget, that pretend budget, and then they have to work together to define out what's important and spend the money wisely within the group. So they're having to work together, they're connecting, maybe something a little bit more interactive because of the social distance, you know, the virtual setting. But then I was thinking how cool it would be if in the groups, they have this money that they were to manage and whoever saved the most at the end of the course got, you know, an extra $50 for each of the kids in their group or something, some sort of incentive to kind of work together. You know, I watch the kids in Zoom all day, these teenagers, and they're quiet. They don't want to engage. They don't want, you know, they don't want to have their cameras on. And so I just thought of a way that they could kind of get to know each other, speak up and connect.
Well,
you know, kind of.
That's just like you, Mrs. Andrews. You're right there in the camera, but I see your hand, I see your side of your face, but you won't get in the camera. That's not, you're just shy.
Well, I just took my bonnet off, okay?
Ain't nothing wrong with that. No, you got a good point. We're trying to get the kids a little bit more engaging. I'll talk to Rhonda about that. I don't even know. I'm not computer savvy. I don't even know how we could do a group get together.
We can do it on Zoom. We can put them in breakout rooms. I know how to do that.
My girl. See, Rhonda is my computer guru. So
Nice.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, if it gets the kids engaged and I can get them to scratch their head, then I think I'm doing something half decent.
Yeah, absolutely. We appreciate your time today.
Yeah, no problem.
You're welcome. We'll see you next week.
All right, see you next week. See you at the next cooking class. That was so much fun. That
Oh, good.
jambalaya was everything.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes, we did. All right, guys, have a good weekend.
Okay, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Rhonda, I will talk to you later, Rhonda.
Okay, bye-bye.